These are the 3 hidden design flaws in your SUV that are making every road trip an endurance test instead of an adventure. Your seat angle is wrong, your headrest is actively fighting against you, and your steering wheel is positioned to create maximum fatigue. If you've ever wondered why you step out of your SUV after a long drive feeling like you've been through a wrestling match, you're not alone. The problem isn't your stamina or your age, it's your vehicle's ergonomics working against your body in ways most drivers never realize. Here's what's really happening inside your SUV cabin. While you're focused on the road ahead, your body is fighting a silent battle against poor positioning that creates static muscle tension, reduces blood flow, and triggers a cascade of discomfort that builds with every mile. The research shows that between 43 and 93% of drivers experience musculoskeletal pain, with lower back pain affecting 53% of drivers and neck pain hitting over 42%. But here's the thing that'll really surprise you. SUVs are actually worse for driver fatigue than sedans, despite what the marketing brochures tell you about commanding views and comfortable seating. The very design elements that make SUVs appealing, that higher seating position, the upright stance, the commanding presence, are creating ergonomic challenges that your sedan-driving neighbors don't face. Let me break down exactly what's happening and how you can fix it today without spending a dime at the dealership. Your SUV's seat is lying to you about comfort. That upright, throne-like position that feels so natural when you first sit down is actually setting you up for fatigue that compounds with every hour on the road. Here's the science behind what's going wrong. When automotive engineers design SUV seats, they're dealing with something called the H-point, essentially where your hip joint sits relative to the vehicle floor. SUVs have dramatically higher H-points than sedans, which sounds great in theory. You're sitting higher, you can see better, you feel more in control. But this higher position creates a biomechanical problem that most drivers never connect to their road trip fatigue. The optimal seat back angle for reducing pressure on your spine falls between 100 and 110 degrees. Think of it as a slight recline, not the bolt-upright position many SUV drivers naturally fall into, and definitely not the lazy boy lean that feels comfortable at first. When you're sitting too upright in your SUV, your pelvis tilts backward, which forces your spine into an unnatural curve and makes your neck crane forward to maintain visibility through the windshield. This forward head posture is where the real trouble begins. Dr. Lauren Massey, a doctor of physical therapy, explains that this position creates an uncomfortable posture to maintain while driving because it forces your neck muscles to work overtime just to hold your head in the right position. When your seat is positioned incorrectly, you're not just dealing with one problem, you're creating a chain reaction of compensation patterns throughout your body. Your shoulders round forward to reach the steering wheel. Your lower back loses its natural curve. Your hip flexors tighten up from the sustained sitting position. And all of this happens so gradually that you don't notice it until you're already experiencing the pain. The research shows that driving postures are bilaterally asymmetric, meaning your body isn't balanced, and this asymmetry is actually worse in SUVs than in other vehicle classes. Your right leg extends to work the gas pedal, your left leg bends differently to work the brake, and your arms reach forward at different angles to grip the steering wheel. Now let's talk about what might be the most frustrating part of modern SUV design: headrests that seem designed to torture you rather than protect you. If you've noticed that newer SUVs have headrests that push your head forward into an uncomfortable position, you're not imagining things. This is a real design issue that's affecting millions of drivers, and it's happening for reasons that'll make you question automotive safety priorities. Since 2008, federal regulations have required headrests to be positioned no more than 2.2 inches from the back of your head. The intention was good, reduce whiplash injuries in rear-end collisions, but the execution has created a new problem. Manufacturers are now designing headrests with a characteristic forward angle because they've found that many drivers slouch forward, and they need to maintain those crash test ratings. Here's the twisted logic. Because so many people have poor posture while driving, the headrests are being designed to accommodate poor posture rather than encourage good posture. It's like designing shoes for people who walk incorrectly instead of teaching them to walk properly. The result is that drivers who actually try to maintain good posture, sitting with just a slight recline and keeping their head back, find themselves fighting against a headrest that's literally pushing their head forward. This creates what researchers call increased neck strain, as your cervical spine is forced into an unnatural forward-leaning position. Only 10% of drivers have their headrests positioned optimally for crash protection, which means 90% of us are dealing with either poor safety positioning or poor comfort positioning. And here's the kicker. 73% of cars have adjustable headrests, but only a quarter of drivers actually adjust them properly. The forward headrest problem is particularly bad for people who prefer the healthiest driving posture. The drivers most affected by this design are those sitting with proper spinal alignment, exactly the people who should be rewarded for good ergonomics, not punished by it. The third piece of this fatigue puzzle is your steering wheel position, and this is where SUV design creates some unique challenges that sedan drivers simply don't face. Because of that higher H point we talked about earlier, SUV steering wheels are positioned differently relative to your body, and most drivers compensate in ways that create arm, shoulder, and neck fatigue. The optimal distance from your breastbone to the center of the steering wheel should be 25 to 30 centimeters, about 10 to 12 inches. Your elbows should be bent at approximately 120 degrees, never fully extended or locked. But here's what happens in most SUVs. Drivers either sit too far back because they like the commanding view, or they sit too close because they're trying to reach controls that are positioned for the vehicle's higher stance. When you're reaching too far for your steering wheel, you're forcing your shoulders forward and creating static tension in your upper trapezius muscles. These muscles weren't designed to hold your arms in an extended position for hours at a time. The research shows that repetition of such arm motions leads to muscle fatigue or even to neuromuscular injuries. There's another factor most people don't consider: the height of the steering wheel relative to your shoulders.